Welcome to Hansel Financial, bad financial habits that you might have. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 7 most popular financial bad habits that I've seen people have, and I want to help you guys get through those and give you guys some tips to help you guys break that habit. It was a great way to also break habits by liking this video, commenting below, and subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate it. So the first bad financial habit that we want to talk about is going to be credit card debt. Now, credit card debt is a big one for a lot of people. Most people do have quite a lot of credit card debt because they think they can put things on credit cards and then basically pay them off later. But the issue with that is the interest. So most credit cards have an interest rate attached to them. So if you do not pay them off every single month, you're going to have interest built upon your statement balance, and basically you'll be paying more money each month to pay off that debt because that interest is going to be recurring. Now, I'm not saying credit cards are bad. I actually prefer using credit cards over cash, but I make sure to make my payments every single month to make sure that my statement balance goes down to 0, so that way I don't have a statement balance rolling over to the next month and paying interest on that. If you do have credit card debt, one way that I would recommend you trying to get out of that credit card debt is first to create that budget. And what that budget is going to help you do is going to help you see how much money is coming in on a monthly basis with your income and to see how much money is going out. With that, we want to make sure that we are basically creating a fixed amount of money per item in your budget and not to exceed that. By doing this, it's going to really help you not go over the budget, and in turn is not going to help you put credit on your credit cards every single month. But also, let's say that you do have credit card debt. Maybe you have a couple of credit cards lined up with each one that you have an outstanding balance on those ones. Another method that you can also do is try and pay off the credit card that has the highest interest rate first and do a snowball effect. So you start with something small, and over time it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and hopefully over a set amount of months or a year, you'll be able to have all that credit card debt wiped out. So that's another thing that you can do to help you get out of that credit card debt. And the last thing I want to talk about to help you get out of credit card debt, it's probably going to be a last resort, but what you can also do is try and maybe move that credit card debt to maybe a credit card that has a 0% financing for 18 months. But the issue that I see with this, or the concern I have with this, is some people, when they do this, they think, oh, now I have an extra 18 months to pay it off, I'm not going to do it. No, if you're going to do this, make sure that you are making sure that you are going to be paying off that credit card debt as soon as possible. And the main reason why you want to transfer that credit card to a credit card that has 0% is that way all that debt is not accumulating interest. So if you are going to do that, make sure that you are going to pay that off. Be disciplined with your finances and pay off that debt for that 0%, because it's going to save you money in the long run. But you need to make sure you do it, because if you don't, then you're going to end up exactly where you were before in all that credit card debt. So another bad financial habit that I see people do all the time is going to be living paycheck to paycheck. What this means is basically whatever money that comes in on a monthly basis, you're spending all that money every single month. You're not putting anything set aside for savings, not putting anything set aside for investments or paying off debt. You're basically using up every single penny of your paycheck every single month, and basically you have nothing left over. And again, that's not a good financial habit to do. So a way to get out of living paycheck to paycheck is you want to try and cut back on those unnecessary expenses every single month. And what are those expenses? Well, it's going to be determined to you personally, but some examples that could be them for you could be maybe you're eating out too much. Maybe you're spending things on more wants instead of needs every single month. So that could be a possibility for you as well. Maybe some of those things also could be small things, like maybe you have too many subscriptions. Maybe you're, buying a lot of Starbucks coffee. You instead make the coffee at home. You go to the grocery store more often. Maybe stop buying things like clothes that you don't really need, that kind of stuff. So try and look through your expenses. Try and cut back on things that are more of a want instead of a need. And remember, those two things are very important. You want to distinguish what is a need and what is a want. Another way to help you get out living out paycheck to paycheck is you want to try and create an emergency fund. And the reason you want to try and create this emergency fund is so if something does come up, you're able to pay for that emergency instead of having to pull out credit or debt in order to pay for that. So having that emergency fund is going to be crucial for you to help you get out of living paycheck to paycheck. You put some money aside in the emergency fund and help build that up, so that way when something does come up and arise, you'll be able to pay for it without any debt. And one more thing to help you get out of living paycheck to paycheck is going to be try and increase your income. Now, I know this is easier said than done, obviously, especially in this economy, which I feel like is very difficult for people to try and get jobs. But try and increase your income in any way possible. Maybe it's looking for that new job, maybe a higher paying job. Maybe it's driving for Uber or Uber Eats. Maybe try and bring some extra income that way, or maybe finding a side job on the weekends or nights, something like that to help increase your income. If you've already tried to cut out those things that you don't need, more of your wants already out of your budget, and you're still living paycheck to paycheck, then you might need to try and look to different ways to help increase your income every single month. The next financial habit I want to talk about is going to be student loan debt. And I see a lot of people doing this. Now, I'm not saying student loan debt is bad per se, but a lot of people do go into it in the wrong way. I do feel like that some professions, obviously you do need to go to schooling for, your doctors, your lawyers, maybe your nurses, those type of careers. Obviously, yes, you do need to go to school for those, but I don't think every single one of those careers you actually need to go to school for. And again, You don't need to go to those big, popular, expensive schools. Again, you go to community college, at the least get your AA, get all those undergrad and those simple classes done first, so that way you're not accumulating all your student loan debt. And what I see a lot of people do is they rack up the student loan debt when they're young, and then next thing you know, they graduate college, trying to find a job, and they got $40,000 in student loan debt, and they're like, oh my gosh, how in the world am I going to pay this off? So some things to help mitigate that is when the time comes to actually repay those loans, is you can try and maybe put on a 10-year plan, or maybe possibly an income-driven plan, but again, that all just depends on your situation. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so you might need to do more research on that to figure out what's the best way for you to actually pay off your student loans. And again, you do need to pay off your student loans. You cannot just leave them there, because if you leave them there, they're going to just continue to accrue interest, and that amount is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow, and next thing you know, you're up to $100,000 in student loan debt. So we don't want to get there. We want to make sure that we are paying off our student loan debt. It doesn't have to be necessarily as quickly as possible, because some of those rates are lower. With the federal loans from the government, those student loans, they're usually a lower rate than the private loans, and so sometimes with those, it makes more mathematical sense to actually not pay them off early, and instead of paying them off early, extra money that you would go to pay off your student loans, you can put that into the stock market, an index fund that gets about 8 to 10%. So again, you have to kind of run the numbers, figure out what's best for your situation out there. Now, this next financial bad habit is a big one. Is going to be not setting enough money aside for retirement. Now, I see this very often. Again, I know when you're young, you know, in your early 20s, maybe you first get your job and you're not thinking right away, oh my goodness, I need to start saving money for my retirement. But the earlier you start saving for retirement, the more time your money has to grow. So the earlier you start putting money into your 401k, then the more money is going to grow over time. And so this is going to be a very crucial and big one. You might not realize it right now because you're young and, you know, retirement is so far away. Again, for me, retirement is still 30 years away, 30 plus years away from me as well. I made sure to start early in my retirement. Even my first job, even doesn't have to be anything crazy, just, you know, a little bit here and there is definitely going to add up over time, because that compound interest of your 401k over time is going to really accelerate the growth of your 401k. If you're currently not putting money towards your retirement, a way to get out of that is going to be, again, like I said, put some money to your 401k. If you do working, most jobs do offer a 401k match. I recommend do the minimum of whatever the match is to get that free money, because again, whatever match the company is giving you for their 401k, that's just free extra money towards your retirement. So I want to make sure you guys are at least matching that, so you can get the max of what your employees contribute to 401k. I recommend try and do even more if possible, if it works within your budget. But again, try and at least do that for the minimum to help you in retirement when you do plan to retire at 65, 70, or whatever age you all decide to retire. And if you're over the age of 50, I highly recommend that you put actually even more into your 401k, because you are behind, to be honest. You know, you've already lost the first 20 years of the best compound growth that you're gonna have in your 401k. So there is a catch-up way when you're 50 years and older. You can put more money into your 401k. So I recommend that you do want to invest more into your retirement fund if you are above the age of 50 to really help you catch up on that. The key is to start early, start young. You don't have to put, you know, a crazy amount of money, but anything helps. A little bit helps. The earlier you can start, the sooner it will grow, and the better your retirement fund will look like when you finally get to that age. So the next bad financial habit that I see people get into is they get into a situation where their mortgage or their rent is too high comparable to their income. Again, you want to try and keep your mortgage percentage of your payment, I believe it's no more than, is it like 33% or 20%? Don't quote me on that, but something around there of your monthly income goes to mortgage. And I think the rent is also around the same percentage. And so you don't really want to go higher than that in your mortgage payment or rent payment, because then that's too much money spent on that and not enough money spent on your other things. But if you are in a situation where your mortgage or your rent is too high of a percentage comparable to your income, then there are a few things I can recommend you to try and get out of that. Some of them are kind of difficult to do right now, because the first one I'm talking about is interest rates. So a lot of people will say, hey, if your mortgage is too high, then just refinance to a lower interest rate. Well, right now the interest rates are still very, very high. And so if you locked in a rate that was super low, then you really can't refinance, because the rates right now are probably higher than what you locked in. Again, my mortgage rate is 3.25. Right now, there's no way I can get a better rate than that. So I'll leave my rate in that situation. But if rates do come down, that can be an option for you, to try and refinance your mortgage to get a lower interest rate. It's going to help your monthly payment to become lower. Another way to get out of this is, if you are paying too much, is to downgrade. Again, if you are living in a house, that can be an option for you to try and sell a house and buy something that's cheaper, maybe a little smaller, so that way the percentage of your mortgage is not taking up more of your income per month. If you are renting, then maybe you can try and look around your place and try and find one that's a little bit smaller in size, a little bit cheaper. Again, I don't want you to go out and try and find the cheapest rental out there. That's not safe. Again, make sure that you are being safe with your rentals and where you're renting. But it's also something you can think about, is trying to downgrade where you live to help bring down that mortgage payment or that rent every single month, so it's a lower percentage of your monthly income. And another way to get that mortgage or maybe that rent lower is maybe renting out a room. Again, I'm not gonna 100% recommend this because again, I want you all there to be safe with this, but that is an option as well for you. If you're able to, maybe you can rent out a room to someone. Renting is gonna be a little more difficult because there might be something in your contract saying that you can't rent out that room since you're already renting from someone else. But if you own the home, then you might think of that option. If you have a basement, maybe you can rent it out to someone to help you bring in some extra income to help subsidize that mortgage payment. So that's also an option for you as well. Again, always be safe. Always vet the person before they come into you. Maybe do a background check just to double check with them. But that could be an option for you out there as well. We talked about this one earlier, the emergency fund. So I see a lot of people out there also not having set up emergency, which is again a bad financial habit because emergencies will come up. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when they come up. And that emergency could be anything from medical. It could be a car one. It could be something with a family member. Whatever the case is for you all out there, emergencies will come up. It's just a matter of when. And so we want to make sure that we have enough money set aside in a different account so when the emergency does come up, we're able to pay for that emergency with that savings account money and pay for it and not have to take out debt to pay for that emergency. And the main reason we don't want to take out debt to pay for the emergency, we don't want to put that emergency amount of money on a credit card because then you might not be able to pay that credit card off and then you have interest accrued on it. So put money away on the emergency fund so that way you'll be able to pay for those emergencies that do come up. And if you don't have an emergency fund set up, don't worry. It's very, very simple to do. I would recommend to basically sign up and create a new account, a different savings account. Again, I recommend a high yield online savings account for your emergency fund. That way that the money that sits in there is they're also making some money on interest and it gets credited back into your account. But basically to set up an emergency fund is very simple. Create that account and then every single month just basically set up automatic payments into that fund. You know, $50, $100, doesn't have to be anything crazy because again, the emergency fund is there for emergencies, so we don't want to get it up there, you know, put $5,000 into it right away. If you can, awesome, but most people can't. So just start slowly setting aside some money to put in there, and that way, when the emergency does come up, you can just pull from that savings account and pay for that emergency. And the last bad financial habit that I see people doing or making is going to be bad investment decisions. Now again, as I mentioned, I'm not a financial advisor, and so this is just for educational purposes only, but some people do some bad investment decisions. One thing that pops up in my head right away is either scams. Maybe you get scammed on something. Again, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And the other thing is trying to invest in those meme cryptos or in crypto. And again, in my previous videos, I recommend that if you go to use the crypto, do it a low percentage of your investment portfolio and try and stick to the two big boys, Ethereum or Bitcoin, if you're going to do crypto. Say you did get invested in a bad investment, then I would recommend you might want to try and get out of it sooner rather than later because it might even go down lower. You might need to talk to a financial advisor, someone who actually does it for a living, and see their own opinions on the matter. But the biggest thing I can say is always try and do your research before you do investing because again, investment is not a guaranteed way to make money. It's still a risk. Even using the index funds of the S&P 500, it's not a guarantee that you're going to make that return, the 8% every single year. It's highly likely you are, but again, every single investment is a risk. And so make sure that you do your research, fully research out, even if it's a company you want to invest in or a crypto, whatever the case might be, do your research. And I don't want you all to lose money and get scammed out there or do it on a bad investment. And again, you want to diversify your investment portfolio. So if you are investing, don't put all your money or all your eggs into one basket. You want to diversify everything so that way if one thing goes down, maybe the other thing goes up, so it kind of levels it out. You don't want everything in this basket and then this one just tanks and then you just lost the majority of your profile. So all in all, those are the 7 most popular bad financial habits that I see people do. I hope you guys find this video very informative. If you are struggling in one of those financial bad habits, I hope that you learned something in this video. I hope that you can take some of the lessons that I just talked about and you can apply it to your own life and get yourself out of that bad financial habit. If you are working through one of those, hey, put a comment below in this video. I'd love to hear about it. Maybe I can encourage you as well to help you get through that financial habit, and maybe you can encourage other people as well with your tips of how you get out of that financial habit. Well, that's going to do it for my video about the bad financial habits that I see people do. If you enjoyed this video, I have great other financial videos on my channel, tips and tricks, that kind of stuff. I'm going to have one pop up right here that if you want to go look at. Yep, right there. If you guys enjoyed it, again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I think that's about going to do it. You guys all have a good one out there.